Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to paint a simple and small sunset landscape. It's more of a seascape because it's a small lighthouse and a sunset in background. Let's see the colors. So I have taken Payne's Grey for all the shadows, and for the darker areas I'm going to use Payne's Grey color. You can also mix your own grays using any complementaries. Then I have used a combination of three colors, which is clear violet, sap green, and a bit of Payne's Grey. So I'm going to mix all these three, and we will create a deep dull green kind of color, which I will use for the foreground and the trees. So here green is the main color, and we have mixed a bit of violet and gray in that. You can also use out of the tube greens, but if you mix your own colors, that will be more vibrant. You can use something mixed with the olive green. I think it will recreate the same color. Then for the orange and yellow highlights in the sky, I have used permanent yellow deep, or you can also use yellow orange. You can use any of those two colors. You can also use a touch of vermilion for the deeper parts of the orange. And then I have used the red violet color for the little bit of red violet highlight in the sky. So I have just put a masking tape at the horizon just to keep a clean edge of the water. So I have just wet the sky, and then I have put just a very thin wash of the red violet, just very little in the middle of the sky. Then I have taken the yellow orange or the deep permanent yellow deep, and then in a diagonal and long strokes, I have put that as per the reference photo, right? I have just put it as a oblique. So generally when we paint clouds, they are mostly diagonally to the horizon, how they look like. So that's why we are painting the clouds in a diagonal direction. Also I am just giving a light wash of Payne's Grey in the bottom of the sky. Just make sure towards the right side of the landscape you are giving a proper wash, because the trees will come there and we don't want any white spaces to be visible there. So I'm giving some more highlights with the Payne's Grey, and then with a number 6 round brush, you can also take number 4. I'm just giving some of the clouds in the sky. You can slow down this video if you are following along, or if you just want to see the process, you can keep it in the speed mode. So it is a little bit darker mixture of Payne's Grey, and I'm just painting some of the clouds. Just follow the reference picture and you're good. It does not need to be exactly similar to the reference picture. I have just rewet the area where I gave the red violet wash, and I have just put little bit more of color there so that it doesn't look very flat on the top of the sky. Here I'm doing the same thing with the yellow orange, and I'm just rewetting the area and then giving a little bit more wash. I have also put some masking fluid on the white part of the lighthouse. So or you can also paint it later with a white ink. Here I am putting a bit more deeper Payne's Grey wash, and I am putting the distant hills with that. And towards the bottom of the hills I have put some Payne's Grey. Now I have removed the masking tape, and I want to paint the water towards the left of the small house and the white house. So I've used the same yellow color, orange color, to show the reflection of the sky, and I'm just putting a little bit of Payne's Grey in the water. and deliberately I have left a white space just below the hills so that my horizon is highlighted. Just follow along the reference picture, and then I'm putting some more Payne's gray details. Just make sure the white highlight below the hills is white when you finish this painting. So here I have taken a deeper mix of Payne's gray, and now I am putting the darker clouds near the horizon. So there is one more tip when you paint the sky. So the clouds are always smaller, or they look smaller when they are near the horizon, and they look bigger if we see on the top of the sky. I am putting more details on the distant hills. And by now you would have known that watercolors dry a little bit lighter than we put it. So don't worry if it looks a little bit dark in the starting. It will eventually dry up way lighter. So here I am putting very small strokes with a small number 2 round brush, just to show the ripples in the water. So you can just use a very thin brush here. The thinner brush you will use, the better the ripples will look. I have used an eraser to remove the masking fluid. You can use a masking fluid remover, or you can also use an eraser. You can also use your fingers. I have mixed deep red color with permanent red and indigo. So we want it to be a dull red color. So with that I will paint the roof and the highlights of this small lighthouse. We don't want it to be too bright because it is a sunset time, so we have not taken a bright white. It's a dull white. I have just mixed some indigo to it, and I'm painting the shadows with the indigo. So I have not masked the top part of the lighthouse with the masking fluid because we want some of the sky to be visible. For windows, for the base layer I have used the same dull red color. You can give maybe if you want you can give less detail to the windows. I have just given a moderate detail here, and then I'm painting one more layer of indigo to the windows and the little bit of stone part which is the foundation of the lighthouse. With a very thin brush you can paint uh, the minor details of the lighthouse. You do not need to give too much details because it's a landscape. We just want to create the values, the atmosphere and the lighting. We are not doing a detailed drawing here. I'm just putting a little very thin wash of indigo on top of one of the walls which is away from the sun or from any light, so that looks very dull or in shadow. Make sure when you are doing that it is completely dry, the previous layer. So here we are using the green mix which we prepared in the starting of the tutorial. With that green mix I'm just putting very thin wash. I'm just putting some tree shape here. It's a very simple tree shape, and because there are 2 or 3 trees there, so I have tried to lift off some of the colors where you see the highlights, and then in the front we are trying to show the first tree, and then in the back there that is the second tree. And with more deep mix I have just mixed a little bit more indigo to the green mix to show the darker values. So here for painting the foreground, though the foreground was not that much visible in the reference photo, I have put a light mix of green to bring some light to the painting, otherwise it would have looked like more of a silhouette and very dark. So in the sap green and indigo and violet, I have just made a light wash here, and with some of the more green I am dropping under the tree, because later we are going to paint some shadow there. So you can increase the light in your reference photo and just try to see uh, where all the shapes and highlights are. I'm just lifting off some color from the tree branches, because later we are going to paint on top of that. Here I have mixed the same indigo color with some brown or Van Dyke brown, and this is how we are going to paint the rocks, because this looks like a very rocky kind of seaside. So you can just paint random strokes to show that there are a lot of rocks there, and also it's like a cliff. So with the same color we have painted a shadow of the tree here, and with the same color we are going to paint the tree trunk also. I think there are very few details left now. I've painted some rocks in the water as well. So with the same mix which we painted the rocks with, I'm putting some of the tree trunks. Again, it is not very detailed. I'm just putting an impression there because we wanted to keep it a simple painting, not too detailed. I'm putting some more highlight on the windows. And just to add some dynamic here, we have added two human figures. It is optional. If you want, you can add it or you can skip it also. So now with the thin brush, I'm just adding some more details to it, so that we have good amount of dark values. I think it is completed. It was very simple tutorial, so if you guys follow it, do tag me or put the link in the comment. I will surely check it out. And if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. I'll be soon back with another tutorial.